So Cate, ICE, Bain and the We Mean Business Coalition recently did a piece of research on accelerating climate finance through carbon markets. Can you give us a little bit of background to this research and why now, please?
Through this collaboration, we surveyed about 200 companies. Really, why now is that we're sort of at an inflection point in the voluntary carbon market right now, where there are a number of companies who are interested in getting involved, interested in scaling their investments, and sort of there are some barriers to entry. We wanted to better understand what those barriers to entry were, to highlight those for the global community so we can see how we can overcome those and really get more financial flows going in the right direction.
Great, and so what were some of the key messages that came out of the research?
Well, one thing that we heard a lot was the most ambitious companies are those who are setting climate targets. Some of the standard setters that enable climate targets to be set in the near term and in the longer term are saying, okay, it's nice to buy carbon market instruments, but it's not something that you can use to comply with your progress toward your targets. So that's been something that's been a little bit confusing for companies saying, okay, look, I'm trying to get on the right trajectory here, but I also acknowledge that I have a lot of emissions that I'm still emitting even as I make that progress. And as a good actor, Bain Company is one of the actors who participates in the carbon market a lot. We purchase offsets or carbon credits to make up for that difference, right? Even as we're ramping down our own emissions. So, companies are seeing as a priority to address their own internal emissions, but due to technology reasons, due to supply chains, et cetera, they can't flip a switch and make that happen right away. So carbon markets really offer an alternative instrument to use to make the atmosphere whole in the meantime. And more companies want to get involved, but they also want to be recognized for the investments and pretty big financial outlays they're making to participate.
Yeah, so is it that the claiming piece of it is really one of the most important parts? I guess maybe not a surprise because of all this sort of legislation and regulation that's coming down the pipeline.
I think there are two components. So one is what is a good carbon credit, right? And there's some activity to define what that means through a group called ICVCM. And then through the Voluntary Carbon Markets Initiative, they're really sort of the arbiter of what makes a reasonable claim. How are you not greenwashing, right? Mm-hmm. What types of credits are you using? Where are you procuring them from? Do you have a plan over time to ramp up use of certain credits that are more credible or will be more available at lower price points in future, et cetera? So that's something that we do at Bain. We recently were the first company to submit a platinum claim under the Voluntary Carbon Markets Initiative, which means that we offset 100% of our residual emissions, even as we're taking action toward our near-term and long-term science-based target. We really believe in taking a leadership position here. I mean, we think it's the right thing to do to invest in these markets that are very nascent but need additional investment.
How do we get more people to effectively voluntarily pay for their emissions, where at scale today it's really only those that are mandated by governments that are paying for their emissions?
Companies need to advocate for policy that is requiring that to happen. We're at a moment right now where companies like Google, like Bain, who are making investments in these sort of first-of-a-kind activities, we're not only making investments and pooling our demand together, but we're also working very actively speaking with policymakers on like, hey, a carbon tax would be an interesting idea to think about putting in place to really encourage companies to start internalizing some of those negative externalities.
Thanks very much for your insights.
Nice to be with you.